Welcome to Magic Mania, your Orlando Magic podcast, right here on the Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan Rumlicon. We got Josh and Juan, Triple J. Even though it's Orlando, it's not Memphis, but we still got you guys covered. And we got Summer League basketball coming up. There's seemingly no off season with the NBA now, with the way things are set up. So we got Summer League just a few weeks after the finals. Obviously, we got the draft not too long ago, but excited to see that. I think it's 2 days from now on Friday. The Orlando Magic will take the court in Las Vegas and will be showcasing some of their picks, including De Silva, their picks from last year, Black, and who was the other guy? Jet Howard as well. So a lot of upside for this Orlando Magic team in this Summer League, and a lot of people that really want to maybe make their name as well. So I'm going to stop talking. We got a bunch of smart dudes with me, so I'll let them talk a little bit more. Juan, I'll let you kick it off this time, my man. We got a couple of intriguing names here in the Summer League. Who are some of the names that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, you mentioned it a little bit with Anthony Black and Jet Howard, two of our first round picks from last season. Definitely want to see what they have. Of course, when you have picks like that who are going to be, contributors this upcoming season, you got to figure they're going to be a little bit limited, maybe a game or two, and then after that they could shut them down. But you look at, of course, Tristan Da Silva, our most recent 18th overall pick, and then you got some guys like Theo Maledon, Isaiah Todd. And Jarrett Culver, former sixth overall pick. So a lot of players on this roster with some high upside, with some potential to make this team and maybe make some noise in this summer league. Of course, summer league's been really picking up lately, been getting very competitive. These guys are trying to find a roster spot and a new home. So it'll be intriguing to see.
Absolutely, and really, it's an intriguing roster that the Orlando Magic is bringing to the Summer League. Because, like you said, obviously you got Anthony Black and Jet Howard, the two higher picks for the team last year. But on top of that, you also mentioned Jarrett Culver, right? Pick number 6 from 2019. That's a 5-year veteran, got some time in the league. He has to show something here in the Summer League if he wants to continue his NBA career, right? At this point, usually Summer League, as you see, about 55% of the roster is undrafted guys, right? So when you're a top 10 pick, 5-year veteran in the league, you have to show something. But a couple other guys, like you said, Theo Maledon's been in the league since 2020, high second round pick, Isaiah Todd as well, kind of having a spot in the roster. But just a couple of good names. Josh, I know you mentioned a few before we even started. Who were some of the names that intrigued you going into this?
One in particular, Jay Huff. He was the G League's Defensive Player of the Year. I think the Summer League is a good showcase for these guys, and I think having that success in the G League, let's see what he does in the Summer League for the Magic. And then obviously Anthony Black, Jet Howard. I mean, these guys continue to develop with the organization, so I'm excited. Summer League's always an exciting time to see how these young guys develop, perform, and showcase out in Vegas. I mean, I know it's hot out there, but these guys got a job to put on, so I'm excited for Friday.
Absolutely. So let's get right into some of these names, right? And I think we should kick it off with this year's draft pick. Let's talk about Tristan Da Silva, right? The guy that's supposed to be bringing some shooting to the team. He has good defensive skill set as well. So he really brings like a high level 3-and-D player from the college perspective, translating that into the Summer League at first and then the NBA. So Josh, I'll let you kick it off this time with this one. What do you expect to see from this Summer League performance out of Tristan Da Silva?
I want to see if he lives up to the hype. This team, the Orlando Magic needs offense, right? So that's why we drafted him. He put up some great numbers in Colorado, and we'll see him have a chance to shine in Vegas.
For sure. I think, like you said, the shooting is going to be key. I think you're going to get to see him with a lot more on-ball reps alongside Anthony Black, right? You're going to get to see Anthony get to try to showcase maybe a little bit of that playmaking. Obviously, the defense is what's known from Anthony Black, right? But you're going to get to see him just be more of a high usage type player in the Summer League, being the spotlight pick that you want to grow during this time. Like a lot of these players, they're trying to make their name and make the roster. But there's a few guys like Anthony Black, like Da Silva, that aren't really trying to make the roster. They're trying to make themselves bigger to get or better to get minutes on the roster, right? That's really their goal at this point. So for Da Silva, like you said, just I'm curious to see how much he gets to use as that side of things. One, what do you expect to see out of Tristan da Silva?
Yeah, what I'm really looking forward to seeing is how good is he as a pro. His big the pros for him was, his high basketball IQ, being able to knock down three-pointers and things like that. So, when given the opportunity, I would like to, kind of like how Josh said, be able to knock down the three. And I really want to see how he defends. Some of the knocks on him was getting blown by smaller offensive guards and things like that. So we'll see how that works, because you know how Coach Mo likes his defense. And I think that's really something with a lot of the young players. That's what determines whether you get on the court and see some play time. And I think we've seen that in the past before, Mario Hazonia and some other former draft picks, even Jet Howard, their defense isn't there yet. So why you see them maybe ride the bench a little early in their career or go back to the G League to develop some more. But when you get a player like Da Silva, who's 23-year-old rookie, you kind of want to see them a little bit more pro ready. So that's something I'm really gonna, try to keep my eye out for on Friday.
Absolutely. And I think that's a great point because this Orlando Magic team is known for their defense. So that's what this team they're going to look for some of these guys, right? You're going to have to play defense first and show that you can kind of guard on that NBA level. You mentioned Jet Howard, right? He only had, what was it, about under 70 minutes on the Magic playing last year, right? So didn't really get those reps because you want to see those defensive side of things. And, he brings that other 3-point shooting as well, kind of that microwave scorer that guy can heat up, averaging, 18, 19 points a game in the G League. But you're going to want to see those things. So let's transition to that. We got a couple second-year guys, right? Both of them didn't have necessarily the first year that you maybe want to have out of a rookie player, right? Even though they were, pretty high picks. What do you expect, Juan, from those two young guys? Like, what are some of the jumps you expect to see from some of them?
Yeah, they're both very, in my opinion, just kind of different cases. Just because Jet Howard's the 11th, a former 11th pick, and then you got Anthony Black, who's a 6th pick, and that's, when you're talking about a front office perspective, that's a pretty big difference. And Anthony Black, he's a pick that has to pan out. You look back at former 6 overall picks. I mean, that's a big draft choice, and that's a potential cornerstone piece. And that's the intention when you make that pick. And when you pick someone like Anthony Black, who's a 6'8" guard, who's supposed to grow into his body, develop. Well, here we are, year 2, and it came just like that. So got to see if everything from last year, all that experience he gained, and he got a lot of play time last year, see if that, separates him when he's on the court. I expect Anthony Black to definitely be the best player on the court when he's out there. At least that's, the hopes. And the same with Jet Howard. He spent all of last season for the most part getting reps in the G League, averaging a good amount of points. So let's see if that first year of being a pro is really paid off for them. And the front office needs it. Markelle Fultz still hasn't been re-signed, still looking for that, backup point guard role to be filled in. So I would say Anthony Black has some eyes on him when it comes to the front office and fans and things like that.
Yeah, I agree
Absolutely.
with that one. I think with their experience, Jet being in the G League, and then having some time with the Orlando Magic, and then Anthony Black coming off the bench. It makes me think of Ben Simmons a little bit. He had that kind of lull in his freshman year, and then he hit the court in his second year. So I think these guys get a good time to show how they've actually developed.
And a lot of times for these second year players, you see the game start to slow down a little bit for them, right? They start to make these reads a little bit better. They start to understand positioning a little bit better. And, the player development for the Magic for a long time hasn't been the best. But over the past couple of seasons, you've definitely seen an uptick from the growth of a lot of the young players. Now, sure, a couple of their young guys their growth was stunted due to injury, right? Maybe like guys like Jonathan Isaacs or things of that nature. You want to see some more of that. But the guys that have been healthy, Paolo Banchero, right? Franz Wagner just signing a Supermax extension. These guys, Jalen Suggs as well, like Josh says, the heart and soul of this team. And right now you have, a defensive dogs when it comes to the backcourt with this team now. But, it's been a changing of the tide when it comes to the development for this Orlando Magic team. So I do expect to see good things from Anthony Black and Jet Howard. I do think we'll see some raw moments from them still. There's still a lot of polishing that I think both
Mhm.
both guys need to see. But I will disagree with you, Juan. I don't think Anthony Black will be the best player there. I do think he might be the guy that's going to be holding the ball and having that. But I do think we'll see more usage out of De Silva, right? I think we'll
Mhm.
see a lot of from Black, you're going to see the defensive impact. That's what you're going to really look for. And he is going to be the one that's going to be probably the primary offensive creator. But as far as like the pure scoring threat, I expect them to try to feed De Silva because the most important thing for this team that what they need is shooting. So that's what I want them to see work on the most this summer league, whatever it may be, whether it's from Silva, whether you see Anthony Black being able to start, maybe take some, spot up 3-point shots and add that to his arsenal at a more consistent level. I think those are a few things you want to see from these young guys coming in on that aspect. Now, let's get to a couple of the other names. Josh, I know you mentioned earlier the center who won Defensive Player of the Year in the G League. And obviously, this Magic team, we have a couple of guys at the center position, but no one that really sticks out. So, what does he bring differently than the other two centers on this team brings?
Yeah, I mean, coming out the G League, was the Defensive Player of the Year, so it's top honors, and we'll get to see him, perform. So I think, with a guy like Jonathan Isaac, who he's had some health issues in the past, right? So maybe they can use a guy who still has that hunger, and maybe there's a spot on the team for him. So.
Definitely. Like you said, especially when health is such a big concern, you need bodies. So the team still has, if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, two-way contracts open for players, right? So, a lot of teams they have their roster set. There's still two spots on this team. And, I think really if you can get a mix of two of either a guard, a 3-point shooter, and a solid backup big, I think 2 out of 3 of those is ideal for what this team wants to look for in that position. And with that, like you said, just that backup big, someone who can, move his feet defensively, who can clog up the paint, right? Even if you have,
Mhm.
one of Jalen Suggs or KCP on the bench and you have someone that's not as good at the point of attack, you have someone in the back lane or maybe that can just take a body. This league has become, it's evolved from being a wing league back to almost again being a league of the bigs. Like you're seeing the guys
Mhm.
like Jokic, the guys like Embiid, even Giannis, AD, right? These guys are so
Yeah.
big. Even I mean, you look at Memphis or not Memphis, Minnesota. Sorry,
Mhm.
they go double big
Oh,
with that
Gobert,
side
and
of
yeah.
so,
That's a great point. Yeah.
this is a league that's becoming a lot bigger. So to have someone even just in your back pocket that potentially just can give a little bit of trouble, put a little bit of body on some of those bigger players, that's what you want out of that. And on the other end of things, Juan, the guy you mentioned as well, um, Jarrett Culver, he was a guy that, obviously started off with the Suns at the time. The Suns weren't necessarily the team. They were still rebuilding with Devin Booker. They had some younger guys coming in and out. Also, not the best development squad. So, you have to give an
Mhm.
understanding that they really haven't developed that many players. Even Devin Booker kind of peaked out pretty early. You haven't heard too much about him lately, although he's still elite. Don't get me wrong. But what do you expect out of Jarrett Culver? Like, what are some of the things you think he can bring to this squad that might warrant a two-way contract or a spot on this roster?
Yeah, he's a player I really am intrigued to see. We talked about already, a former sixth overall pick. This is a guy that led Texas Tech to the national championship. He was a part of that team, which I mean, technically don't you typically don't hear about Texas Tech making it far into
Mhm.
the tournament. But Jared Culver was a part of that team. His career definitely has not panned out, as you see. He's on a summer league team looking for a job. So 6'6", he's one of those wing type players that you really want in the NBA, which is why he got picked within the top 10. I think he brings it all if he's able to tap into that potential that got him there. The defense, the scoring, and the size. Being able to guard 1 through 3 and maybe 4 if needed. I think that would be invaluable to the Magic, and they could really use that. You never could use too many of those kind of guys, and if he can get even close to what the Suns saw at sixth overall back in his draft, which was a pretty big draft. I'm pretty sure that was the Zion and the Ja Morant draft, if I'm not mistaken. But if he can just tap into some of that, I think he could be a player that could earn that one of those roster spots.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you're talking about some of those names in the draft. Just looking back at it, like you said, Zion, Ja. You had Jarrett Culver, but after them, you had guys like Rui, PJ Washington, Tyler Hero, who's on the Heat, right?
Mm.
Yep.
Grant Williams at 22. Matisse Thybulle is not good anymore, but he was a good defender. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you had
he had
guys
his moment.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so like you said, just a lot of players, even like Chuma Okiki, right? He was on the Magic for a little bit. He hit some shots every time we were there. It felt like, you got 28th pick Jordan Poole. So yeah, man, like you said, a lot of um, potential there, especially with such a deep draft. They saw something to take him at sixth
Yeah.
overall. So
Mhm.
you definitely want to see him kind of fill out and maybe be that guy that can fit within like that 2-3 role, be a backup or a deep backup, someone that can do a little bit of everything as well. So overall, let's get into some predictions. Obviously, Summer League is crazy, right? Predicting Summer League is never easy, but as far as the schedule goes, I think the first team we play is it Brooklyn or is it Cleveland?
Cleveland.
Cleveland.
Okay. So with that side of things, I'm gonna pull up the schedule so everybody that's watching can actually see it as well. But yeah, so we have Cleveland on Friday, starting off things. We have Pelicans on the Sunday. We get to see Zach Edey on next Wednesday, July 17th. We got Brooklyn after that, and then after that, it's the preseason, folks. So yeah. So as far as that side of things, let's get into a quick 4-game prediction for that. And Juan, I'll let you kick it off, my man. We got, like I said, Cleveland, Pelicans, Grizzlies, and Nets. Give me a quick 4-game prediction, and also, who are some of the young players, if you know any, of course, right? Who are some of the young players out of those squads that you're maybe looking forward to see?
Yeah, first thing that stands out is definitely Zach Edey on that in that Memphis game. Um, I'm also looking. I don't really remember the drafts from Cleveland and New Orleans and those guys, but definitely Edey. Memphis has already been playing, so they're all warmed up and things like that. So that'll be a good challenge. I'll be generous and give it about a 2-2. This it's going to be interesting, and I'm basing that off of Jet Howard and Anthony Black's playtime. I don't think they'll. I think we might see 2 games from them max, and then just kind of unless Jet Howard needs to see more playtime, which let's hope that's not the case. But I think we'll probably see 2 games out of them, and then let the rest of the guys try to battle out for that roster spot. But I think a lot of those players didn't play in that Cleveland series. But maybe they'll try to get a little get back early on for that Game 7 series and get a quick win against the Cavs to get the summer league started. But I think these teams, they're all lower end teams when you look at least mainly just Brooklyn and Memphis, but teams that are drafting a lot right now, trying to get younger players. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think a solid 2-2 throughout summer league will be reasonable.
Josh?
I agree. I'll go with 2-2 as well. I like that. Yeah, definitely looking forward to that Grizzlies game with Edey. I'm not exactly sure what if there's any been like high draft picks with the other teams, but I think Brooklyn's looking like they're probably in a rebuilding phase in a way with Bridges going to the Knicks. And I think the Magic, it's because they've always have this underdog spirit. I think outside of Howard, Silva, and Black, I think there's some guys on that team that they want to get on a main squad. So I think we'll see some pop from that. So I'll go with a solid 2-2.
Yeah, no, I think that's what I was gonna go with also. Looking at some of the just drafted, it doesn't look like you said, Zach Edey obviously was the highest pick. I don't see a pick for the Pelicans on that end, but I do see that Cleveland took Jalen Tyson. As a guy, looks like he's known for being more so of a defender. On that side of things, got a little bit of shooting, got a little bit of spot up shooting. So curious to see kind of the defensive matchup that you're going to be able to see from him versus Jet Howard, right? Because you're going to want to see some of that defensive growth from that end. So you're going to want to see a little bit of that. Obviously, Josh Edey, nobody necessarily outside of who Josh mentioned at the center position that really can maybe just match up with him 1-for-1. That's the matchup you're looking for, right? There's nobody here
Right.
that you're really looking to match up with that. But definitely looking forward to seeing how some of the wings match up with the opposing team wings and how we do defensively. The defensive growth and the shooting of this team is really the two main keys that we're going to be looking at for this summer league. But as always, guys, we appreciate you checking us out. We're 20 minutes deep, and we got summer league ball coming here in a couple of days for the Orlando Magic. For Josh and Juan, appreciate you guys taking some time out your day. And if you're watching,
sir.
make sure you guys like. If you don't like, make sure you guys, tell us why that we sucked, because, just at least let us know. And then, if anything, you guys can always just subscribe and, send your hate more if you guys hate us. But as always, guys, we appreciate you for watching. We'll get you guys covered next week with maybe some post-game coverage as well for some of the summer league if we see some of these guys popping off. But we'll keep you covered right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And Josh, how do we end these podcasts?
Go Magic.